Hello and welcome once more to The Comfort Zone with your host Steve Criscole, and brought to you by Bible Ministries. Now this is the first in a three-part series entitled Teach the Children. In my last vidcast we said that children are our most precious possessions. Now I don't think I'm assuming too much to say that we would do pretty much anything to protect our children. But what if I told you that most of us are deeply failing to protect our children? We are leaving our kids wide open to strange ideas, bullying, confusion, anxiety, depression, and even suicide. The fact is, every time you send your children off to school, your children are in grave danger. Not so much from deviant sexual predators, but another kind of predator, one which permeates society in general and the teaching world in particular. They are many. These predators are ones which seek to normalize behavior and attitudes that not so long ago were deemed deeply immoral and even illegal. These predators seek the destruction of our society so that they can build back better with them in control. It's a long-term strategy, and it's been in play for the better part of the last 50 years. These predators know only too well that in order to succeed, they need to fill the minds of kids with their mantras and beliefs. To that end, today we are seeing schools, colleges, and universities being bombarded with such ideas as global warming, which has recently morphed into climate change. Sustainability, which is about green energy, the carbon footprint, and the Great Reset. Sexuality is another one. Gender identity. Now there's a subject. Political ideologies, which is just blatant socialism. And then there's identity politics and cancel culture. And there's the good old favourite, racism. Well, now we have apparently systemic racism and anti-white racism. And of course we've got social engineering, which is basically political correctness. Now, I've just picked out some of the more obvious ones. If I go back 20 years to when my children were at school, there was, even then, the beginnings of this list just starting to creep into the classroom. Now, when I taught in British high schools for a while, a few years ago, what I saw there, it shocked me to the core. The attitudes and behaviour of the children was, to put it mildly, abysmal. I could see that the teaching staff were deeply hampered in their ability to manage these kids, simply because of their inability to adequately discipline the children. Of course, there have always been disruptive kids, and I know that from my own school days in public schools. But what we have today is a disproportionately large number of disruptive kids, sometimes as much as 50% of a whole class. Essentially, the classroom is often a battlefield. And that's been my experience. The kids, they've been handed power. The power to use their perceived entitlement, this is a phrase to remember, to cause the teachers to be disciplined or fired simply because they transgressed some unwritten law. I've witnessed kids doing it. They've even tried doing it to me, without success, I hasten to add. This is all the fault of a succession of the predators chipping away at the fabric of our society for decades, pulling it apart stitch by stitch. Now, if you think your kids are immune, then think again. If you were blissfully unaware of the dangers, then it's high time you, as they say, woke up and smelt the coffee. Let me just give you one or two experiences of mine. 20 years ago, I was unaware. I trusted the schools to do their job, but I still had that feeling that something was wrong. I saw my kids becoming traumatized by the constant bullying at elementary school. I went to school And to the school's credit, they dealt with it each time, so no problems there. But the problem was it kept on happening. I didn't understand. I couldn't know the reasons for the bullying then, but I do now. You see, my kids were well behaved and they were courteous. I taught them manners and some basic rules to live by, Christian rules. The basis of my parenting, as I said, was Christian. I didn't force feed them the Bible. They simply went, they went to church on Sunday with us. They did Sunday school and they did some church-based children's activities, and they loved it. You see, in a mainstream public school, even at the age of 6 or 7, they were deemed abnormal by the other kids, simply because, well, they were generally sweet, well-behaved kids. A few years after that, I realised that there was indeed something seriously wrong with the behaviour of children in general. I didn't know then what was causing it, and it took me a good few more years later before the penny finally dropped. Of course, by then, it was too late for my children. They had been subsumed into this cultural conformity that was required of everyone. They even turned on me. They blamed me for being completely out of touch and wanted to go back to the good old days. Yeah, some choice phrases of theirs. Well, I have to admit that we don't speak now, which is deeply sad, but I suppose not really unexpected. As with all things, it was a tremendous learning curve. Not for the kids, by the way, but for me. In a relatively short space of time, society had changed beyond all recognition. Changes that had taken place previously over 70 or 100 years, they'd happened in less than 20 years. So, don't you think maybe we need to try and put the brakes on this? Isn't it time to try and change things around a bit? Now, I want to address my next comments to the parents of young children, maybe of kids who haven't started going to school yet or they've just started. Your children need protection. Now, I'm not talking about bodyguards, I'm not talking about anything silly like that. What I am talking about is, well, the kind of protection that you can only get from God. Because I'll tell you for free, no school or government will help you. I think everyone's seen that over the last year. You need to get right with God. And when you've done that, you need to recognize what's happening in today's world. The minds of your children are at stake here. The battle for control of them is on. The predators, they want to have your kids become programmed dummies to conform to their twisted ideologies. If you can see that, then you're on a new road. It's one which is difficult, but will, if you do it right, allow your kids to grow up to be well-rounded, intelligent, God-fearing, critically thinking people. Now, better men than me have realized a long time ago that it is extremely beneficial to know your enemy. Get to know just how they operate. Learn how the media is used as a propaganda tool. Teach your kids how that works when they're old enough. You need to know how they do what they do, because until you do, you can't do anything about it. Even more importantly, you need to teach them God's laws. After all, the 10 laws of the 10 commandments, are they really so much to swallow? Teach them to question and not be subservient to the conformist rabble. Teach them to ask questions. Teach them to be resilient and strong. And I'm not talking about tossing the caber or weightlifting, okay? Strong here in their mind. Your kids, they are the forefront for change. You need to take up the mantle and give your children the most precious gift possible, and that is simply the love of God. Let them see it in you, and they'll want to have what you have. Be a shining light for your children, because they always look up to you. You are their role model. You are their hero. Dad, mum, granddad, grandma. So you need to show them who your hero is. Show them Jesus. Okay, thanks for watching this. Please come back, watch part 2 and then part 3 of this important series on teaching the children. See you then, and God bless. Bye for now.